Hello guys, in this video I will present you the long awaited and requested fully voiced in-depth guide about my Sword and Shield Hatchet Assassin build. I will share everything I know about the build with you, including hidden and secret mechanics you surely never heard of. On top of that, there is an announcement at the end of the video. Basically, I'll be streaming on Twitch, you can follow the link in the description. Let's start with the basics and take a look at the skill trees. This Swordmaster tree is pretty much straightforward. You take all perks which not include blocking and put all points into Leaping Strike, then you just have enough to put your last point into leadership. The Defender tree is slightly different from what it used to be after the changes made to Shield Rush. Now we want all points in both Shield Bash and Shield Rush. The reason behind that will be explained later in the gameplay section of this video. We also want to pick up the perk Elemental Resistance and the perk Final Blow. There's pretty much no alternative to this skill tree since Reverse Stab and Whirling Blade are god-awful abilities and Defender's Resolve designed for tanking, not for assassination. Now let's move to the Hatchet tree. We obviously want to take all points into Berserk. Furthermore, Against All Odds and Accumulated Power are pretty much mandatory perks on Hatchet. Torrent has gotten insanely good after the recent buff on its tracking, so we definitely use it in the build. However, the last perk Final Blow is not desired because the animation for it is way too long to be of any benefit. We just put 2 points into it and then we have 1 more point until reaching the keystone, so in the DPS department we have the choice between Enraged Strikes and Relentless Fury. We will choose Relentless Fury because this build will actually utilize heavy attacks and therefore this is a nice and reliable perk to choose. Looking at the throwing tree, we start putting points into Critical Throw, which also enhances our melee crit rate, and Rejuvenating Crits. We then take all points into Social Distancing, put a point in the very mandatory perk Exploitation and Adrenaline Rush. However, with 1 point left, I personally choose to play with Aim Throw. To me, it is a mandatory ability to have in wars, as you can use it to charge your heart rate during regroup phase or before fort breaches happen. If I were exclusively playing OPR, then I would put that last point into Enraged Strikes on the Berserker tree. Having the opportunity of block cancelling your torrent is also something you would lose when going for Aim Throw, keep that in mind. Let's dive into the gear section. First, I will show you my current gear I use for both OPRs and wars. In this build, we value refreshing a lot, so you will see it on every armor piece next to Resilient. As weapon perks, I use Refreshing Distancing Throw and Refreshing Torrent. Both decent to have, but not mandatory. Other than that, I run 2 Elemental Aversion, since it has the best value in the current meta. And of course, Shirking Energy on pants. For gems, I choose the Runeglass of Punish and Onyx to further increase my melee damage output. The current Summer Medley Fair event offers patterns which you could use to craft best in slot gear for this build for a very cheap price. Looking at the 600 gear score patterns, Elemental Aversion and Refreshing is locked and Resilient has an extremely high chance to roll. On the Amulet slot, we use Champion's Amulet. There is no alternative to it. Shirking a Power is an insanely good perk and Stamina Recovery is basically a jail-free card every 30 seconds. Then I use a Mortal Empowerment, Slash Damage and Hardy Ring. Mortal Empowerment may not be as good as it used to be, but it's still much better than Invigorated Punishment, which now is next to useless for this build. If you don't feel too confident in your kill padding ability, or look for a cheaper ring, you can also consider running Refreshing instead. Or you could play with Crippling, which is difficult to roll, but the build contains a lot of slows, and it can also increase your DPS by extending the duration of empowering Leaping Strike. Since the most recent patch, Hardy is a mandatory perk on any ring used by light armor players below 300 dex. And as I spot like a 150 dex build in this video, which is still a strong melee build, we have to go with Hardy. And of course, we use Slash Damage as a perk on the ring, as most of our damage is slash after all. Unfortunately, Legate's ring is not playable anymore on a sub 300 dex build, therefore I suggest you to go for Simon's Hacksilver ring in case you need a cheap named alternative. As an earring, I use pretty standard perks Refreshing, Refreshing Toast and Regenerating. You could also go for Purifying Toast if you think that helps you more than the extra health. For gems, I suggest going for at least 2 rubies in your jewelry because they have higher value than merely gems. On this sword I use Rogue, Empowering Leaping Strike and Attunement. On the shield I use Keen, Vicious, Keenly Empowered and Refreshing. You see right, there are legendary shields with 4 perks. However, AGS has decided for a stupid reason to remove the possibility to craft legendary shields, so this remains as a legacy item. However, it is still possible to drop legendary shields, they are just insanely rare. You definitely want to have Keenly Empowered and Vicious on your shield, then you could decide between Keen and Refreshing. However, due to the crit nerfs, I suggest going for a Refreshing shield. You have a lot of choices when choosing your sword and shield. Basically, you have a 6 to 7 perk weapon in one. However, keep in mind that the same named perks do not stack. For example, you cannot run Vicious on both sword and shield. There is another option for you to get your hands on Abyss sword and shield. The Artisan Round Shield has an illegal perk combination of Enchanted and Vicious. Pair this with a sword, preferably Rogue, Leaping Strike and Keenly Empowered or Attunement, and you have a really high damage output. I use Rogue, Attunement and Keen Speed on my hatchet. Keen Speed is a really good perk on a hatchet for roaming, chasing and escaping from dangers. Alternatively, you could go for Refreshing Torrent on hatchet or for Keenly Jacked. However, you cannot run Keenly Empowered on hatchet since the cooldown is shared with your sword and shield and you will lose Keenly Empowered when swapping weapons. Mammoth's Tusk is also a good named hatchet which you can also buy on the TP with Rogue, Keen Speed and Refreshing Torrent. It is a nice hatchet for starters. We are going with Runeless Opals on both weapons. When choosing the dodge element, keep in mind to not take fire for obvious reasons, and also keep in mind to not take the identical element on both weapons because the dodge will not stack or reapply when you quickly swap your weapon after an attack. As a hard rune, we obviously use the Brutal Detonate, no alternatives here. Also, don't forget about your bags with lasting consumption. They will also increase the duration of elemental resistance potions, which is very impactful. Attribute distribution are 216 strength, 150 dex and 150 con. You could also lower your con for more schizo kind of build, but I personally don't think that is worth it. Enough of theory, let's jump into the gameplay section. Starting with the most basic technique that any decent hatchet player should know and master, the Berserk Cancel. This is where most new players already give up due to the supposed level of difficulty of this simple animation cancel. But I promise you, it is very simple. I will give you the best explanation and easiest example of Berserk cancelling out there. First, I present you the most useful and easiest cancel, the weapon swap Berserk Cancel. While having your sword equipped, swap to your hatchet. During the swap animation, simply press your dodge and your Berserk button at the same time. It is that simple. But how long is that weapon swap animation? Just watch closely. The weapon swap animation starts as soon as you swap your weapon. The hatchet does a little loop in the air and the animation ends after you catch your hatchet in your hand and enter the basic unsheathed stance. In the previous example, I pressed Berserk and dodge at the latest possible time of the animation so that you can see the entire time window that you can use. But you could also instantly press Berserk and dodge after swapping to the hatchet without any waiting. As you could see, you have a very long time window where you have one simple task. Press 2 buttons at the same time. Your Berserk and your dodge. Anyone can press 2 buttons at the same time, right? So you can do it too. Swap your weapon, then you have a very generous time window of about 0.7 seconds to press Berserk and dodge at the same time. However, if you still struggle to replicate this simple technique after several hours, you should probably get your keyboard hand checked by a doctor. And to the people who still think it requires macro usage to Berserk Cancel, I don't know man, just keep yourself safe. There are many other different ways to cancel the Berserk animation. Another headshot enjoyer called The Whelps has done a nice video about this a long time ago. However, my two most recent findings are the Unsheath Cancel and the Inventory Cancel. For the Unsheath Cancel, have your headshot equipped but sheathed. You unsheath it, and then during the animation you have a time window to do a Berserk Cancel. For the Inventory Cancel, have your headshot equipped, open and then close the inventory, then you will have a time window to do a Berserk Cancel. And props to Bingo Jenny for finding the Inventory Cancel. You should understand now how easy it is to cancel Berserk. Just trigger the Unsheath headshot animation however you like, and then press dodge and Berserk at the same time. And from there on, build up some muscle memory and you will be confidently cancelling Berserk animation whenever you want to enter a fluid and fast gameplay on your headshot. The next technique I will present here is the double throw. It is very simple. Just after you used your aim throw, you can use any other throwing skill just as social distancing to cancel the post animation of aim throw and throw two headshots at almost the same time and make you feel like a bow player. However, keep in mind that during social distancing you have to use a directional key other than the S key, otherwise you will make a leap backwards. Let's move on to something more simple. The Shield Rush into Shield Bash combo. You simply walk towards your target, use Shield Rush and directly chain Shield Bash into it. The target will not have any opportunity to break out once your Shield Rush connects and therefore guarantees you 3-second stun on Shield Bash. However, this isn't the entire truth. There are weapon swap glitches in the game applying to Ice Gauntlet and Rapier who can break out of any stagger by swapping weapons just after the stagger connects, offering them the options to entomb, dodge away or even riposte your Shield Bash combo. But you can make it more difficult for them by putting more points into Shield Rush. The upgraded Shield Rush will have less frames and allows you to chain Shield Bash quicker than before. On top of that, you apply an AoE weaken and slow, which will increase your upcoming damage on the target. In the upcoming clips, I will show you highly effective combos you can do with this build. However, in order to make the best use of them, you need to understand the mechanics behind it. If you don't engage with a Shield Rush combo on your Sword and Shield, you want either to engage with a quick heavy attack or leaping strike. You can charge your heavy attack on SnS really quick. It only takes about 0.3 seconds until you can release the left click. What follows is not only a decent amount of thrust damage, but also a whopping 30% in power for 5 seconds. On top of that, you'll be guaranteed to crit now after a dodge, means you will also proc your Keenly Empowered together with a Honing Stone. This will already put you at the Empower cap of 50%. Now you can follow this with Leaping Strike and apply Empowering Leaping Strike on your target. The perk works like Old Rend, means you will cause 31% more damage for the duration of the slow, and this applies for any Sword and Shield user who is attacking the target. The 200 Strength perk will add another 10% bonus damage on the slow target, and your Opal will give you another 12% more damage. You're dealing over twice the damage after using a heavy attack and leaping strike on the target. Moving on to more complex combos, even the headshot provides some burst potential in its combos. The most important combo on headshot is the heavy attack into torrent combo. However, this is a very difficult combo, as you not only have to stun your target before and then pull off a perfect Berserk animation cancel while positioning yourself behind your target, but also have to cancel your heavy attack frame perfect after it hits, to then hit with your torrent, allowing for double hit in almost the same frame and not offering your target to dodge or counter out of your burst. This combo is the main reason why I choose to play with Relentless Fury, as it gives me 15% empower after a heavy attack. Let's look at this combo step by step. Step 1. Stun your target. Step 2. Use Berserk Animation Cancel to apply 20% empower on yourself while positioning behind your target to get the backstep bonus. Step 3. Charge your heavy attack. Step 4. Just in the frame when your heavy attack hit applies, activate your torrent. If you watch closely, you will see that both hits apply at the same time and result in a burst damage of 6000 damage in this case. This requires extremely well timing and practice. If you fail it, you either cancel your entire heavy attack and just hit once with a torrent, or you activate your turn too late and your opponent dodges away or riposts you after your heavy attack. However, if this wasn't enough for you yet, I present you the ultimate combo that a hatchet player can pull off. The stun into Berserk Cancel into Heavy+Torrent Detonate combo. This combo will most likely one-shot any light player you successfully use it on. Anyway, this is an extremely difficult combo as you need to first stun your target, then pull off a perfect Berserk Cancel to position behind your target, and finally get your heavy attack, torrent and detonate off at the same time in order to not allow your opponent to avoid any of the triple hit burst. The steps are the same as before, with the addition that you have to start charging your detonate in the middle of your shield rush in order to get the perfect timing together with your heavy attack on the target. As you can see, becoming a good hatchet player isn't as easy as people say, there is much more to it than spamming the left mouse button. Coming to the end of this video, there are some more tips and tricks I want to show you. First thing is the Leaping Strike Flick. As you already know, Leaping Strike is a very satisfying ability to play with, as it allows a quick movement in your desired location while defying the laws of physics. The absurd thing about Leaping Strike is that you can basically flick it for even 180 degrees, allowing you to instantly leap behind a blocking opponent or turn around a losing fight by surprising your opponent. As the name Leaping Strike Flick already suggests, you have to activate your Leaping Strike and then quickly flick your camera in your desired direction, preferably to your target. However, this will take a long time to practice. The next tip is a simple reminder of the updated tracking on Raging Torrent. Torrent will now follow the target's path just as good as light attacks would do. On top of that, even in the middle of the air, Torrent does not stop tracking your opponent. And as you can see in this clip, Torrent is able to follow up on multiple dodge rolls in a row, which makes it a really nice ability. I will follow up on this by reminding you of the massive amount of haste this build has to offer, which makes it by far the fastest build in the game. You have a 20% haste for 12 seconds from Berserk, 20% haste for 6 seconds from Raging Torrent, and 20% haste for 5 seconds from Keen Speed, which makes a total of 60% haste, which is capped at 50% though. You could simply use Torrent to drive-by hit a nearby target in the back and run towards your intended location while enjoying a 40% of haste and while berserking even 60% of haste. Also, after tapping a target with Torrent, your stamina cost on dodges is reduced by 25% for 2 seconds, which offers extra mobility. Hitting social distancing on a target with an active debuff will also grant you 20% haste for 6 seconds. Even damage over time of Runeglass counts as a debuff, so basically any target in combat will give you 20% haste on hit of social distancing. Your sword also has a perk which grants you 20% haste on critical hit, basically Keen Speed without any cooldown. On top of that, you have Leaping Strike to quickly close any distance. Since this build offers as much refreshing as possible, your cooldowns will be very low and therefore not only your kill threat and DPS is higher, but also your overall mobility. In case you're an OPR enjoyer, make sure to get your Zephyr cakes in order to enter Ferrari mode and prepare yourself for getting called out for speed taking a lot. At last, there is one more important mechanic I need to tell you about: the ping difference. What usually sounds like stupid cope is extremely serious in New World, since your ping not only affects how quick you can react to your opponent, but also how likely your attack is to hit the target at all. For example, starting at the ping of 90, you will have issues hitting a walking target from behind. But do not mix up your high ping with server desync issues though. There may be times, just as very recently, where cross-server OPRs having massive issues with desync, basically not allowing you to hit any target from side or behind because the server is in a huge desync that has nothing to do with your ping. But just as important as not being able to hit your target at all, your ping also affects your attack speed. That's right, the higher your ping, the lower your attack speed. And attack speed is very important on Sword and Shield and Headshot. For example, comparing a ping of 40 with a ping of 120, there will be an around 20% attack speed difference, which then translates into a 20% DPS difference, and that's huge. Personally, I do not suggest playing this build at all if your ping is above 70. And in case you want to min-max your DPS, maybe tunneling providers like Exit Lag or WT Fast are options for you to improve your ping. I can tell that every single millisecond makes a difference, as I played New World on a LAN tournament sponsored by Amazon Games last year, where we were able to experience a ping of 1 to 2 ms, and that was a day to night difference to my usual 40 ms ping. This is the end of the video. I think I covered everything that came to my mind. If you still have questions regarding the build or want to stay up to date, feel free to join my Discord server or tune into my stream on Twitch, where I will regularly stream OPRs and wars between 6 to 10 PM. You can find both links below in the description. I will also play other light melee builds, so if you're interested in that, make sure to join. And thanks for watching, see you on stream.